Drugs or Sports by Thomas Yates, Isabella Roa, Natalia Medina, and Gabriel Romero. Okay, I would like to give an overview of what we will be talking about. Is drugs in our ages have influenced a lot, and I think that by us doing sports, we can make ourselves better people, and not influence in things like drugs and substances that will ruin our lives. Psychological view. Why do we want to focus more on minors than on adults? Well, the major reason is that I and my colleagues think personally that by talking and influencing people from a younger age, they will know what to say when they are asked if they want to consume drugs or not. And at a younger age, there is the tendency of being easily influenced by drugs. Imagine what the world would be like if everyone in the world consumed drugs and was filled of drugs. There would be no jobs, no dreams. There would be simply no life because everyone would be just addicted to it and wouldn't want to work or give an initiative to be a citizen of the community. So do you want to rely on drugs for anything, even if it risks your future? What happens when you consume drugs? When you consume alcohol, you get impaired judgment, no coordination, slurred speech, confusion, depression, short-term memory, and even slow reactions. Here, for example, is a association of anonymous of drinkers that helps the people with problems to get rehabilitated and get well again. Damage caused. What happens when you consume marijuana? You get rapid heartbeat, disorientation, lack of physical coordination, depression, sleepiness, and in extreme cases, you can get panic attacks, anxiety, and hallucinations.
So here's an example of the marijuana plants. And here's a cigarette from marijuana. The damage caused, what happens when you consume drugs? A cigarette contains more than 7,000 chemicals, and 69 of them are known to cause cancer and other diseases. And there's recently the facts of Marlboro have showed that one of those 69 chemicals are rat poison. Smoking is estimated to increase the risk of coronary heart disease from 2 to 4, stroke, heart attack from 2 to 4, and lung cancer in men and women, but in men it's less than women because women tend to have a smaller lung. Here's an example of some cigarettes. The risks of here's the areas where smoking affects. The lung is the primary one, and the throat. Damage caused continued by drugs. What happens when you drugs. When you consume cocaine, blood vessels like they become smaller. The pupils dilate, they become bigger. Increased body temperature, heart rate, and blood pressure. Headaches, gastrointestinal complications, abdominal pain, nausea, and because cocaine tends to decrease appetite, chronic users can suffer malnutrition. And the definition of cocaine is basically a drug which stimulates dopamine, and dopamine has adrenaline, and that like cancels the sensory organs.
So now we're gonna play a game. I need 5 volunteers. Anyone? Okay. Already picked 5. Okay. If we have time, I'll okay. So. Okay, so the game is called Influencing, or in Spanish it's called Busca Petróleo. I don't know if you have heard of it. Okay, so basically you have to point to the floor, and you have to look at it and spin 10 times really fast. And after those 10 times, I'm gonna throw you this ball, and you're gonna try to catch it. And this is like a preview of what it feels like to be drunk or in the influence of drugs. Okay? So who wants to be first? Okay. Apunta. Okay. And 10. Spin 10 times.
Real fast or just?
Really fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Faster. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How do you feel? Okay, so Mark? Maureen. Okay, spin 10 times. Really fast. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh my God, you guys!
She She's already used to it.
She's used to it. Okay, so really fast. Come on. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so now. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. You're the only one that did it. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Primero, esta bichera. 30 minutos.
Okay, so moving on, I want to talk about illicit drugs in Bolivia. So, first of all, I want to know, what do you know about Bolivia? So, I'm going to go through some of you, and I want you to say the first thing that comes to your head when I say Bolivia, okay? So, go.
Country.
Go.
Altitude.
Go. Go. Coca leaves.
South America.
12-year-olds driving.
Everyone drunk.
Real card.
Keep it this.
Okay. I just wanted to know. They didn't go either.
12-year-olds driving.
Okay, there's just some examples, okay? So let me move on. So this is a chart of the drug consumption prevalence from 2000 to 2010. And they separated into illicit and licit drugs, which is illegal and legal. So the most popular are marijuana, which is also called cannabis, cocaine, base paste, and hydrochloride cocaine. Do you know what is the difference between those two? Can everyone?
One is a paste and the other one is a
Acid.
powder.
Okay. Okay. So the base paste is mainly made of the coca leaf itself, and it's used to make the hydrochloride cocaine. There are hallucinogens, inhalants, and in the illicit section, there's alcohol and tobacco. And here we see that from 2000 to 2005 and 2010, they have been their ups and downs. But what we know right now is that in 2014, the numbers here have mostly doubled. And that's because children are starting to consume drugs. So did you know that between the ages of 13 and 17, 3 out of 10 students consume 2 or more drugs in Bolivia? And these studies didn't include tobacco and alcohol. Also, the people who were surveyed, answered that they didn't know a lot about drugs and what damage it caused. So basically, they were using it without knowing why. And Bolivia is one of the leading producers of hydrochloric cocaine. Okay, in 2011, an uncle asked his nephew to deliver a package after a family reunion. What the nephew didn't know was that the package was cocaine. And he was like, okay, I'll take it, don't worry. And he had to take it to Puerto Suarez, that's outside of Santa Cruz. And so in the way to Puerto Suarez, they had to stop, and narcotic police stopped the bus and searched his backpack and found the cocaine and took him back to Santa Cruz, where Child Protective Services took care of him, and basically they put his uncle in jail. So children are often used as mules, and minors have a lower risk to go to jail, and adults in narcotic businesses don't want to be caught. And this is the backpack where they found the cocaine. And this is another example how they use children in the drug issue. They usually stuff they stuff their insides with cocaine, and they usually put it in condoms because condoms don't break. But if they break, in some cases they do, they actually kill you. So basically, you risk your life doing this. Okay, so what are some reasons why children fall into drugs? Depression, child abuse, social influences such as friends or family, the lack of familiar stability, and money, because in the drug business, they tend to earn some money. Eventually, they will try it. And these will lead to their escapes, such as alcohol, cocaine, inhalants, or sniffing glue, also called cola de zapatero in Bolivia. In Bolivia, children often buy inhalants because they're cheaper and easier to find, because in every hardware store it's available. And they here's some pictures. Okay. lead you to other criminalistic activities such as gangs. And why am I talking about gangs? Because when we made our project, the person in charge of the child shelter was saying that children are starting to be recruited for gangs. And I was like, okay, let's talk about it. So, did you know that there are currently 762 gangs in Bolivia, and about 200 are in Santa Cruz and 129 in La Paz? The dangers are like initiations. For example, in most of the time, guys who enter gangs have to be beaten up by all the older members, and girls who join gangs have to have sexual intercourse with all the members in the gang. And children, in this case, are used as pets. These are this is the term that the bosses use for children who do their dirty work. Okay, so why do they do that? Minors have less chances to serve prison time, and the boss won't get caught and will continue its activities, and children are innocently and easily influenced, so gangs take advantage of that. And this is like graffiti in Santa Cruz. Here, if you can see, there's an 8-ball, and that represents a big gang in Bolivia called Bola Ocho. That's 8-ball in Spanish. This is really interesting because it shows how, for example, if you see this in your house, graffitied in your house, it means here it says beware, there are cops. Here it means that there's a woman that's alone. Here it says only women live here, beware of dog, the house is really good. There's nothing of interest, and this one is the house has already been robbed. So if you see this, be careful.
Okay, I know that we've been talking to you about what drugs are, the problem with drugs, why you shouldn't be abusing them, but we haven't really been going into our project. The idea that we had really came from something that I think everybody desired at a young age. Half of the guys here, please raise your hand if you like soccer. Okay, who here watches the World Cup? And who here when he was 5 or 6 wanted to be like Ronaldinho or Maradona or somebody that they okay? Okay, perfect. That's what I'm trying to get. When you tell people about drugs and the harms that they cause, often we've been lectured about what not to do by our parents a million times, but how often do we really listen? To get to a person, you have to get to them by a way that they are interested. For example, we could be lectured for hours and hours, but unless we are interested in the subject, it won't matter, and the day that it comes to its purpose, we will forget. So the way that we try to incentive children to stay away from drugs is presenting drugs as a way that drugs take them away from their goals. If you want to be like Ronaldinho or Maradona, or want to go to a World Cup, you have to stay away from things that are harming to you. So our goal for our project was to decrease the consumption of illicit drugs in Bolivia. And the main target are children. So the actual fact is that at least 40% of the population in Bolivian children, consume drugs or will end up in gangs. So what we wanted to do was a method of persuasion, giving these kids hope, telling them that they had a future because it's true. For example, we went to Hogar Niño Feliz. That's a foundation that takes care of kids that don't have the means, that can't go back home in the afternoon because of money-related issues or trouble with their families. So what we did is we told those kids that if they really wanted to get somewhere in their lives, they had to stay away from drugs. We gave them hope. We show the kids that it was fun to play sports. If you're a girl and you want to be a ballerina, you can do it. And if you want to play soccer and be like Maradona said before, I really like him. Well, you have to stay away from drugs. And the susceptibility is Bolivia's eagerness to help. We all want to help. We don't want to see our country in a bad place. We don't want to see children in the street. But how often do we help? So what we did, we got support from sponsors. It's really important to get good sponsors because we live in a world where economically, if you want to do something, you need money. You need a capital. So we got sponsors, people with good hearts that really wanted to change something. We got La Imare S.A., that is a fabric in Bolivia that distributes textiles and also floor materials. We got them to sponsor us with t-shirts that we gave the kids for a small tournament we later on portrayed, and so that they could help us with the transportation and also with the presentations, etc. This is a logo of a company that actually did help. And then we have the development of our idea. What we first did, we found an orphanage that included children from the young ages of 8 through 12 because 60% of children that year, between that ages, are getting invited to gangs or to illicit drugs. So we found Fundación Niño Feliz. We contacted the administrator and coordinator. We set up a formal meeting to discuss our idea. And we told them that financially they didn't have to give us any money because we weren't there to ask something material from them. We just wanted their time so that we could show their kids that there is a future and that they can stay away from these things. That's where the development and organization comes in. We set up a date where we could do the tournament and also the presentation so that wouldn't affect the orphanage in another way or anything. Here's the pictures of many of the girls that we talked to. We talked to them about what they wanted to be when we grew up. How many of you, like one of our keynote speakers said, how many of you know what you want to do when you leave high school? Please raise your hand. Okay. And I bet that's something you really like, or if there's something you want to do, drugs take that away from you. And for example, look at this girl. For example, the one in the middle is Maria Belén. She said she wanted to be a veterinarian. And I told her it's possible. She can do whatever she wants. But drugs in a certain way are rocks in your path. And if you learn how to avoid them, you will have a great future. Okay, this is where we really took action. We presented an educational presentation with games like the ones we just did with you. And we taught kids the effects of drugs, how they can ruin your life, and how they do not only harm you, but they take away a great and valuable thing you have called family and friendships. And I want to say that the friends that incentive you into drugs and stuff are not really your friends. They're the people you have to watch out for. So that's where the idea for the tournament, Say No to Drugs and Yes to Sports, came up. These are the posters we used to do the presentations, showing them statistics that really affected them. Here are the pictures of us presenting. Here are the girls. And we gave the guys shirts for a soccer tournament. The green team won.
Also, the girls in that group, they said that why didn't we involve them in the soccer game, and they were like, please do this again, but with girls, and we were thinking about doing that again.
And also, we just wanted to say that the main idea we used to teach the kids is something that I would like to say to all of you. It's pretty simple. If you want to achieve anything in life, making it about economical, if you want a big office with a great view, or if you want to have a good family and happy children, drugs and bad influences such as marijuana, cocaine, things that we often see but do not realize how harmful they are can ruin your life. So what we did is we played a game in which we stood kids up and told them that there was their goal, there was their dream. For example, Maria Elena, that wanted to be a veterinarian, we told her that if she reached the other room, she would be a veterinarian. But what she didn't know was that between there, she couldn't step on every single tile. So she had to jump every 2 tiles. Most of the kids didn't make it, and that's the statistics. For example, drugs are the tiles that she couldn't jump, and that's how kids fall. Because kids fall into temptation because of bad choices they make, because they don't know how harmful drugs are. So what we're trying to do is avoid our future generations, our children, your children, to ruin their lives. So what will you choose?
Do you have any questions?
I just want to say, for those that don't know, Maradona was a heavy cocaine user. So I'm not saying it's a bad example, but he was a good player up until the point that he chose drugs, and I just want to set that example.
And it really ruined him from that point on.
Yeah, he like dropped.
Yeah, it ruined him.
Thank you.
Are you guys planning to continue working with this orphanage that you did the soccer tournament with?
Yes. The point in us making the t-shirts is for them to keep having these tournaments and keep playing with the teams. And we gifted the ball so they can, with their field that they have, they can keep doing this type of activities and influencing themselves with sports and not with drugs.
Eventually, we're gonna if we continue further, we are gonna involve more orphanages and shelters in Bolivia.
And our project idea is that in a 20-year lapse from now, maybe the tournament could include scholarships so that the kids can actually be one step closer to their dreams.
Because I think personally that to make a society a better one, we have to start from the future, which is the people that are young, and this way we will grow as a community and as a country. Yeah.
You have Vladimir sponsoring. Do you have a long-term commitment from them to help you into the future?
Yeah, what we did is they gave us a limit of money. For example, we told them how much, an average about how much each tournament would cost. That means one tournament each 3 months. So what they did was we said like money wage, and they gave us they will give us this amount of money every 3 months for a tournament for a consecutive year. The next year, if the soccer cup is successful, we could continue with them and get other sponsors that already showed interest. For example, a newspaper wanted to do